Welcome to the Make a Statement podcast with Derek Robinson and Paul Tayon, presented by Mass Strategy. Let's go.
Welcome to the Make a Statement podcast, where we teach you what to say, how to say it, and where to say it, because we believe everyone deserves to have their message heard. Today, we're joined by a couple special guests, one who's a regular here at MASH and one who's a special guest that we'll be pleased to introduce soon. I'm Paul Tayon, your host. Derek Robinson is taking a break for this episode. We have Robyn Damude with us, our communications planner here at MASH, and we're very pleased to welcome Bill Thorn, communications director, and I think director of communications and marketing.
Yep, marketing and public relations.
Marketing and public relations with the Regina Humane Society. So welcome, Bill, to the podcast, and welcome, Robyn, as guest host.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Great to have you here. Yeah, so we're very pleased to be providing this year. Mass Strategy has provided 3 end-of-year donations. We've talked about the other 2 on previous episodes. Our 3rd donation at the end of the year, which is now January, we're a little bit late. We just got too busy at the end of the year, so we decided to make them first-year donations. So we made the choice of the Regina Humane Society because we have some employees in Saskatchewan, and it was a cause that we felt very passionate about, but we wanted to do 2 things. As with the other donations, we wanted to give the gift of obviously financial donation, but obviously the gift of awareness as well in helping profile the RHS and tell a little bit of folks about how we came to choose the RHS and why we're kind of moving in that direction, and what else the RHS can kind of tell us about their mission and all that stuff. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate not only the donation, obviously monetary donation, but as you point out, the gift of awareness is also very, very important, that we can keep a spotlight on the work that the society does and the animals that are in our care, and that's just as important in many ways.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was telling you, I think earlier, I lived in Regina for six and some years, and had the pleasure of driving by the RHS and driving by there and seeing kind of the need. Obviously, you guys are at the facility on Armour Road. Can you give us a bit of history on the RHS and some of the background there, when you guys started, where you've come to kind of today, and how things are going?
Yeah, I mean, it has changed immensely since it was started back in 1964, which is when the organization was founded by a group of concerned citizens in Regina that felt there was a need for an organization that would look out for the welfare of animals. There was no such organization, at least in any kind of formal way, in Regina. And so this small group started the Humane Society, and it worked, I believe, out of an office in downtown Regina for a while. And the facility that we're currently at was built in 1965, originally just a simple Quonset where the animals were housed, in a couple of small offices. And then over time, we call it a bit of a Franken building, because there was a little bit added here and there over the years with largely donated materials and labor. And while the facility served its purpose, it's old now, and it is literally falling apart. So we're looking to move into a new facility actually later on this year. So it's good. And the work of the Humane Society has changed a lot. Anyone who's been here, we'll see some of the kennel areas, not so much the cats. We've got some new modern kennels there, but the dog area is very old school, I would call it. And what's acceptable in housing animals has changed a lot too. It's not acceptable anymore to warehouse animals. Our new facility is not, twice the size. I mean, it is twice the size, but it only holds about the same amount of animals, maybe a few more. But again, the goal these days is more through education, working with the community, and the goal is that animals don't need to enter a shelter at all. And if we can do some work out there that prevents that, that's a good thing. So things have really changed. It's become more of a very obviously animal focused, but also people focused, sort of a One Health approach to animal welfare. And it's changed a lot, just even in the last 10 years or so. And I expect that it's going to change some more in the new facility, which we'll probably talk about at some point, is going to help us do that in a big way.
For sure. That's huge. Yeah, I love how you mentioned, you guys are really meant to be, the way I understand it, kind of a temporary home, right? It's just, you're just there to kind of be there for the animals as they need that kind of transition between, needing to find a home, and then you guys being able to kind of, show the public, those who are interested in helping kind of provide that animal a forever home after they come through your doors.
Yeah, no, that's a big part of it. We also, we're under a contract with the city of Regina. It's a 20-year contract that we're about 7 years, I think, into, where we do provide by law enforcement and city impound as well. So we're the place where the animals can go from within the city of Regina. We still try and work to keep them out of here. I mean, we want animals to have a place to go that truly need us, as opposed to healthy animals and that kind of thing. So if someone's experiencing difficulty, with behavior with a pet, maybe a cat's not using a litter box the way it should be, we've got some resources that can maybe help them deal with that to keep that pet with its family, because ultimately that's something that we want to see as well. So yeah, there's lots of angles to it. I know when I first started here, I was amazed actually at the many levels of animal welfare and a shelter, humane society, and all the things that need to be taken into account. But it's interesting every day for sure.
No doubt. Are you guys mostly kind of dogs and cats then, or is there anything kind of beyond that you guys deal with in terms of animal welfare?
Pretty, yeah, we do see that. It's mostly canines, felines. That's the vast majority of pets that we do get in, but all companion animals. We don't deal with livestock or reptiles or that kind of thing. But we do see from time to time rabbits and gerbils and hamsters and those types of things. I think we have a parakeet right now too that's under our care. But yeah, for the most part, it's mostly cats by far, and then dogs as well.
Very cool. Yeah, I suppose keep your crocodiles and exotic pets at home or in the zoos where they belong, right?
Well, yeah, we just don't have the facilities or the expertise to deal with them. We do get the odd, we've had some turtles and stuff like that have come in, and but fortunately there are some groups around that do specialize in those types of things, and we usually work with them to see if we can't find it a home, transfer to them basically.
Very cool. That's awesome. I know I'm a big animal lover, but I think Robyn might be a little bit bigger of an animal lover than me.
I am very much so. Actually, so my dog, today is actually our 3-year adoptiversary.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
I forgot until this morning. Tula. So this is Tula.
Oh.
She's from the Yukon. She was born in Haines Junction, and we've had her for 3 years now, and we've traveled basically all across the country in the past 6 months.
Wow.
So I really like different rescues, and everywhere that I've moved, I've always kind of tried to be a part of them. So when we were in Yukon, I used to foster puppies. I used to walk dogs at the Humane Society up there. In Toronto, I always donated to the local rescues. My parents both adopted dogs from local humane societies, actually, and Tula. And I was just wondering, what are the services that you guys provide? You mentioned that when people can't take care of their dogs or their cats, they can stay for a short term, or, you'll adopt them out. Do you have any other programs that can help people in your community and the animals?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when people talk about the Regina Humane Society, the first thing that does come to mind is our lost and found department and adoptions. That's first and foremost that people think of. But what a lot of people, and they're very, very important. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of people don't realize the other programs that we do have. Many years ago, I think it was in 2008, working with the city of Regina, we launched a subsidized spay neuter program. We do have a vet clinic, or spay neuter clinic. We have 3 full-time veterinarians on staff. We are not able to provide veterinary service to the public other than through the subsidized program. And what that does is that allows people that might be economically challenged to still be part of the solution to the over pet population. And largely with cats, we don't have a dog problem, at least in the city of Regina, in terms of excess. I mean, yeah, we still have some, so there's obviously not homes for all of them just yet, but we do have a cat population problem. A lot of cats living on the street, which is not good, especially given our climate, both hot and cold. So that program is designed to allow families that might not normally be able to afford to have their pet sterilized to be able to do that. And it's been a very, very successful program. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think since that program opened, we've done, I think, over 13,000 spay-neuter surgeries. So it's been very, very successful. And I hope and believe that it has stopped a lot of litters that would not necessarily be wanted to be there. And even with that, there's still plenty out there. So there's still work to be done for sure. Another big area that we're hoping to grow even more in the coming years once we have our new facility is our education outreach programming. Education, working with young kids, working with adults, and that's everything from just learning the basics of animal care, but also the underlying things like compassion and empathy and respect for living things. And so those types of things, along with the practical side. We've worked with the Saskatchewan Health Authority on a program called Be Dog Smart. Every year in Regina, there's usually over 700 animal bites that are reported to the Sask Health Authority. In this area, I believe 600 or so of those on average are from dogs, and a large number of those are also to children. So we have a program that's focused largely on kids, but the message is still the same about how to be safe around dogs, particularly dogs you don't know, how to approach a dog. If you think about it, a lot of those dog bites to kids are to the face. A lot of the smaller kids are the same height as the dog's mouth, and first thing they want to do is, oh, puppy, puppy, and give it a hug.
Yes.
And if the dog's caught off guard, even a dog can be caught off guard and react just in a natural way and have a bite that can be quite serious. So that's something that we want to do as well. And we have resources for teachers, that we have different kits that they can take into the classroom to teach about looking after animals and that kind of thing too. So that's a very big part. Just this year, we started some camps, week-long camps in some cases. We had a pet sitting course for both adults and children, so that they can learn how to properly look after an animal, and maybe start a little babysitting business on their own, that kind of thing. So those are things that we started this year, 2022, and we hope to be able to expand again once we're into the new facility. And that's a very, very big part of what we do. Our outreach programming, again, one thing we say here, one of our main goals is to keep pets with their families. And the outreach programming is a big part of that. We held, I think the last one got rained out, but 3 or 4 days in North Central Regina where we had some food, some supplies, some treats for pets there. We also had a free microchip clinic where we implanted identification microchips in pets at no cost to the owner. And again, this is all designed that should that animal be brought into the Regina Humane Society, we can quickly identify who the owner is and get that pet home, because that's what we all want. And there were some of my most favorite days of the year is talking with the residents of the area. We did it in association with the North Central Family Center, who's doing some great work already in that area, and they're so appreciative. And it was really, really something to see. We've also been supplying as best we can some of the community fridge programs as well, so that people have pet food, litter for their cat, and that kind of thing too. And we don't want them having to decide to feed themselves or feed their pet. So we're hoping that we can help alleviate that on a short-term basis. It's admittedly it's a bit of a band-aid program, but at least for that time period it helps get people through. And I mean, there's lots of other social programs working on the other areas of concern there, but it's one area that we feel that we can help. Other things I mentioned, we have a Safe Places program that offers temporary housing for pets that are fleeing from a domestic abuse situation. Unfortunately, that's a program that is needed. We work with social services on that to provide that, so that the pet is not involved in that. So sometimes the pet can be used as a bit of a tool or used against a person, a threat of harm or something like that. So by removing that pet from that situation, working with social services, that we can take that away and hopefully allow people to focus on solutions for whatever the issue is. A few years ago, we started a dog training program. The initial goal of that was to support new adopters, new dog owners, in being successful in that adoption. And it starts right with puppies, but other things too, just general basic behaviors. It's expanded over the last few years to include things like agility training. It's become very, very popular. But that's something, again, all supporting keeping pets with their family, One Health, successful adoptions, and seeing pets live out their life happily in very positive environment with their families, and the people enjoying it too. It's very much about people too. It's animals, but it's building families, and it's that bond between animals and humans that we want to celebrate, that we want to enhance, and give every opportunity to be successful. Another big thing I mentioned, we provide bylaw enforcement. We also provide enforcement to the province We don't get any funding for it. It's something we'd like to see, but we provide enforcement of the Animal Protection Act of Saskatchewan. By law in the city is things like animals at large, defecation complaints, that type of thing, whereas the Animal Protection Act is more centered around abuse, cruelty, that kind of thing. So, we do handle that for the city of Regina currently as well. And another area that has grown immensely over the last number of years is our pet cremation service. This is a paid service, and the funds that come into the society through that service greatly assist us in helping animals. I mean, other than the contract we have with the city of Regina, which is on a cost recovery basis, every other service we provide is either funded through donations or through revenue that it can generate, such as the pet cremation service. And that provides cremation of pets that have passed directly to the public or through most of the vet clinics in Regina and a few outside of Regina as well. And it helps people, get that closure. And in many cases, they retain the cremated remains of their pet and keep them with them, sometimes spread them in a place that is special to them. But it helps to get through that process. So that's been something that's become very much more busy over the last few years as well.
No doubt. That's really special that you brought that up, because I was going to kind of segue into something a little bit personal too. We speaking of animal lovers and kind of teaching new dog owners new tricks, so to speak. I was sort of a new dog owner with my wife for a couple of years before we had kids, and we enjoyed the company of a dog who was very much in his elder years, and we were able to kind of give him a good life for 3 years until he had to go across the Rainbow Bridge, as they say. And I wasn't even aware of like 2/3 of the services that you had even mentioned, and quite a few of them obviously are centered towards helping pet owners with closure, helping kids. I've got lots of young kids, and like knowing that they have access to kind of programs and training in schools that would help them kind of interact with pets and treat pets respectfully, but with that kind of degree of respect, like I said, and just proper caution at the same time. So,
well, yeah, you need a healthy human environment for the animal to do well in that environment that it's in too. So we try and support as much of that as we're able to, for sure.
That's something you guys probably take into account as well when you're helping find a home for pets, is finding that proper, making sure that home is the proper home for the pet that's going there, knowing their behavior, knowing their characteristics, knowing that environment they're going into.
Yeah, very much. I mean, a lot of the animals that, and I say this to people all the time, is that every single animal that we have in our care is displaced. It's not where it's used to being. It's around different people, different sounds, different smells, different animals. So they're already kind of, some handle it very, very well, some not well at all, most somewhere in between. And, often we don't have, and if an animal comes in stray, we don't really have a background on it. We don't know what its behaviors are other than what we might observe. And most dogs are, we do a temperament test on them that is, a widely accepted means of doing it. And it tests different things, sensitivity to touching their paws, sounds, food possession, that kind of stuff, to try and gain some understanding of how this animal is. But again, it's maybe been in our care for a matter of a few days. It's probably not settled. Again, it's wondering where its usual people are, this type of thing. But we do the best we can to assess that animal before it's made available for adoption. We do have to hang on to them for a holding period, which is 3 days if there's no identification with the animal, and it's 10 days if there is. Well, we try and get the animal back to its family. But we'll reassess them to see what we feel their suitability is for adoption, and we want to make sure that we do give adopters as best idea of what we have observed with this animal, how we feel this animal is, anything we've noticed. Is it shy? Is it a little sketchy that way? Is it possessive over food at all? Those types of things. And we're very open with people on that. I mean, we want this adoption to be successful. Mm-hmm. So if we've observed something, the adopter will be told if there's any medical conditions that we've treated, surgeries that might have had, or something that might not be a concern right now, but might lead to something down the road. It may not. But we make sure we inform people as best we can, because we want them to know the type of pet that they're getting. And also, we take people on their word. We don't, if we've got a border collie, I think your dog Robyn was a little border collie-ish there. They tend to, yeah, they tend to be high energy, very smart. They're working dogs, right? So that dog is not likely, on balance, to do as well in a environment where we're sitting on the couch all day, watch Netflix and eating cheesies, right? It wants to go out. It needs its brain, as well, most dogs do, but particularly those types of working dogs. They need their brain exercised along with their body. So we try and let people know that and make them aware that this dog is going to need to be walked a couple of times a day at least. It's going to need to give it some mental challenge, that kind of thing, for it to thrive at home. So we try and do that as best we can. I mean, there are times when people go, I think we can do that, and they maybe overestimate their ability, but most of the time it works just fine. But as long as we give people an honest and as complete view of what this animal is like and likely to be like in the home environment. But again, it takes a while for an animal to settle in. We always say the rule of threes, 3 days just for it to go, where the heck am I?
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks to kind of start calming down a little bit and realizing everything's okay. And it's, maybe up to 3 months before it really feels like, okay, this is home, I'm good. And, its true colors are kind of there. So it doesn't usually happen overnight. It can, but we try and keep people's eyes open, say this can take a while, so give it a chance.
I'm going to jump to a selfish story about a successful adoption from you guys, and that's this guy right here, Buddy. He's a toy poodle that we adopted from the RHS back in the fall of 2015, and I think you had found his file just before we started recording, Bill. So he was. What's his story? I didn't even know his story before.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, that was within the first year that I was here. I started with the Humane Society in April of 2015, and I instantly recognized his picture. I remember it. It was a very, very cute picture. He had a smile on his face, and he was found actually outside of Regina in a rural area, not too far north, but in an area we don't normally see poodles, for sure, or toy poodles especially. They're more the Sasky special. That's some mix of Rottweiler, Husky, Shepherd, and something else. Staffordshire Terrier is usually the other one. So it was a little unusual to see him out there. But apparently, from what I could see in the notes on his file, he'd been seen for a bit of period of time before someone was able to round him up and bring him into us. But that's happy to see that Buddy's still doing so well. I do remember him, and don't remember all of them. There's just too many, but that one I do. So
there's certain ones that stick with you as you come through your doors, hey?
Yeah, exactly. So that's great to see.
Yeah, he's going on 6 years, 6 years after, and just feeling fine. As we just had a vet checkup with him the other day, actually, and they said he's like, I can't believe he's 12, and I was like, well, the record said he was 6 when we got him, so we assume that that's accurate. And
well, it's still a bit of a guess. I mean,
yeah,
we look at things like their what teeth they have, growth on the teeth. There's a few other things that we can do to estimate the age. Usually we're close, but sometimes it's not. For whatever reason. But yeah, we don't know for sure. But it's usually reasonably accurate.
What can you tell folks who are kind of considering adopting from the RHS about I mean, obviously I've shown a success story here on our end, but is there anything else you can kind of reassure people who are kind of considering adopting, what they can kind of look forward to if they come through your doors, and what the experience they can kind of get?
Yeah, well, we try and make it as easy as we can for people. I mean, we do ask that, they're ready to take on the commitment of an animal. It can take up to 15 years for a dog, maybe 20 plus for a cat, and we want to make sure that they're ready for that. I mean, we understand things can change that are unanticipated, but for the most part, that they've got the time available for the type of animal and breed of that animal that they're looking to take on, and so they've got that resource of time and money. Animals do cost. And we want to make sure that they're best able as possible to look after the animal that they've got. We never know what animals we'll have in our care or that will be available for adoption on any given day. We have all the available ones on our website. That's only a fraction. It usually maybe a third of the animals that are in our care are available for adoption at any given time, because we'll have other ones that are under vet care that are recovering from surgeries or illness or something like that, or they're maybe too young to be adopted, or they're on stray holds, that kind of thing. So people often say, we'll talk about how full we are, and they'll come by and there's there's some empty kennels, and they go, what are you talking about? Well, part of the reason is that most of the animals are not up front in the public facing area. They're in the back or in the animal hospital or in foster care, which is another area that we are looking to expand. If we can have animals, especially ones that are recovering from illness or very, very young, having them outside of a shelter environment, they're going to recover better, more quickly in that calm environment of a home versus the chaos that sometimes we experience in an animal shelter. So that's a big program that we have as well, which I didn't mention earlier.
Yeah, fostering is great. Like, I think it's a good experience, especially for puppies or dogs that aren't doing well, like you mentioned, in the, like kennel setting with all the other dogs around them. It can be really stressful. And I've fostered multiple litters of puppies, and they probably learned potty training a lot faster being in my home than, they would have really had the opportunity being in a busier setting. But speaking of adoptions, is there any animals in particular that you guys are featuring right now that are really looking for their forever home? You mentioned you have a lot of cats. Is there anyone that stands out in your brain that we can kind of shout out on this podcast?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we do have lots of cats for sure. We've got one dog, Haley, that's been with us for a couple of months. She's a border collie cross that we're having some difficulties on finding the right family, and we'd all sure love to see her go home as quickly as we can. There is no time limit on how long an animal can stay, as long as they remain adoptable, healthy, and adoptable. That I mean, we do have them come off the floor because they develop an illness or something, but a lot of people think that's 30 days or something, and that's it. That's not the case. We also work with a lot of other rescues and animal welfare organizations that are more specialized in dealing with a breed or a particular behavior that we're just not equipped to handle. We transfer out, I don't have the number in front of me, but it's particularly cats. Believe it or not, we've got a cat problem here, but there's parts of, I know into Alberta, even in BC, where there's a shortage. There's more people that want animals than there are animals available. So, at times we've transferred animals to different areas that have homes waiting for them. So if we can do that, in fact, I think we've got a transfer coming up later this week. We will do that as well as one of the options we have to get animals into a new home. Even different humane societies, sometimes just a new audience helps. I recall we brought in there was a few animals up in Prince Albert Humane Society that just weren't going. They were there. There's really nothing wrong with them. No one can understand why they're here. And we get that a lot where there's animals that sometimes are here for a while and I don't know why. They're nice, they're good looking pets, but for some reason, just haven't found the family. Anyway, we brought down, there was I think 2 or 3 of them, and one of them had been up there, I think, for 3 months and was adopted within 2 hours when it was here.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't do anything that Prince Albert wasn't doing other than exposing the animal to some new eyes that maybe hadn't seen it before. So we'll do all of those things to the best we can, and then as our resources permit, to be able to get to an animal home if it's not happening.
No doubt. I've been waiting to tap into this one. Your new location, your new home. When I saw this on your website, I was super excited because I was like, oh man, first of all, I wasn't even aware until we started. We had made kind of the decision to donate, and then I looked on the RHS website and I was like, I didn't even realize they were moving. That's wild. So tell us more about this new home. I hear you guys are moving very soon.
Yeah, we're super excited about this, and this is you just learned about it, but it's been in the works for close to 15 years. With when our board chair at the time said, do you think we could build a new place? Because as I said, the place that we're in now was built in the mid 1960s, so it's pushing 55 plus years, and it is literally falling apart. There's an office on the other side of the wall in front of me that was leaking yesterday because a bit of the snow was melting. It's just not a good place for biosecurity. I mean, we literally lose animals because of the building we're in. And as one of the architects of the new facility said, think of it as a tool, the building. It's one of the tools we have that allows us to do the work and save the animals that we're setting out to save. And if you don't have the right tool, just like building a house or something else, it doesn't work.
It's not going to work. Yeah.
It doesn't work as well as it could. So, the new place, if you've been here, the dog kennels are syndicate sort of kennel things, with bars in the front. And as I said earlier, we do have some more modern cat kennels, most of which will be moving with us. In fact, all of them will be, because they are sort of what current practice. But we'll be able to, we call it, it's the Animal Community Center, the Regina Humane Society Animal Community Center, and it's very much that. We want this building to be a place people want to be, where they can spend time with animals. They can adopt an animal. They can celebrate animals. We will have, the dogs, for example, in the adoption area will have their own little suite, as we call it. They'll have a nice glass door, and it'll, be their own room where they can, meet people and visit. We will have, a human grade biosecurity animal hospital. I had a tour of it on Friday. It was the first time I've been in it. It's been under construction for almost a year so far. And our chins were on the ground at the prospect of what we're going to be able to do with this facility. It will be, I think, probably there'll be no other building like it in Canada. It is twice the size of the facility we have now, but most of that, we'll be able to hold a few more animals. But as I think I mentioned, warehousing animals is not what we want to do. A huge part of the building is dedicated towards education and outreach. We have 3 classrooms that we'll be able to use for those education purposes. We'll be able to do school tours again. We haven't been able to do those for a while just because we have no space. Our education center that we used to have kids in is now housing kennels and various other things, and our lunchroom. It'll also be a public use space where those classrooms can be rented out after hours, for Cub Scouts or whatever to meet every Tuesday night kind of thing. So we want it to be a centerpiece for the community, not only of Regina, but certainly for Harbor Landing, which is a newer subdivision of Regina, immediately south of the airport. And we want it to be a place that people want to be. We'll have some retail space there, and just it's very bright, lots of natural light. It'll be so much better for the animals and the people too. We're excited just as people that work there, but also people that visit us. I think I've heard comments when people come in here and they, the words you hear are sad and dingy and it is. I mean, we've done the best we can, but this place will be bright and happy and celebratory, and a place that people want to be, to come and celebrate animals and adopt an animal and such too. So it's been, again, a lot of years working at it. We were finally able to find a piece of land, as I said, in Harbor Landing a few years ago that wasn't available when that held us up for a number of years, is finding a suitable property for it. But this became available and it was perfect. It's easy to get to off the Louvain, for our animal protection officers to get to different parts of the city. It's in a vibrant community with lots of people close. We're hoping they'll volunteer. You can take the bus there. We don't have bus service where we are now. We're out in the boonies and not really on the way to anywhere unless you work at Evraz, kind of thing. So we're really, really excited about that, and looking forward to being a really high profile and important part of the community.
It's going to be much more central to everybody else too. Remember, I lived in the northwest-ish kind of end of the city when I lived in Regina, so it wasn't too far for me to go to Arbor Road, because I was just taking some roads around the city to get there. But I always remember driving up to there, and it always kind of puzzled me. It's like, why have they been there, right? Why have they been in this northern location? But this move, along with everything else that you're getting in a new building, a new facility, a new everything, is just geographically much more central to where you need to be to serve people, which I think makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I mean, many times I've heard, well, you're just too far. I mean, we're not that far, but I actually had a person contact me a week or two ago wondering when the new building would be open, because he wanted to get a cab, but he didn't want to drive out here. I mean, it can stop adoptions from happening, and people that want to volunteer, again, you can't take a bus here. You're either driving or you're taking a cab or something like that to get here. So that was a big part of it. We wanted to make sure we had the right property that was going to allow us to be, far more accessible than we are now, for sure.
Yeah, especially for volunteers. I know I've been in that position where I was a student, and I'm like, I can only take a bus. Yeah. And the shelter was too far away for me to just easily do that. Like on the weekends, it would have taken half my day to get there.
Exactly.
I'm excited about this new location, and I don't even live there, so I guess I have to come to Regina to get a second dog.
Well, yeah, I hope you do. I hope you do. We're, as I say, it's still under construction. They're pretty much on time with it, and they're saying they're going to be done probably in late June. Barring any setbacks in terms of supply chain and stuff like that. But it will take us some time to get our staff trained, and to get some of the things into the building that are sort of post construction, some of the technology that needs to be installed and that kind of thing. There'll be, like each of the adoption pods will have, right now we have a clipboard with, a piece of paper on it that talks about the animal. There'll be a tablet outside each one that you can touch, and it'll give you all the information. And, we're just starting to design that system. We know how we're going to do it, but the actual design, and maybe we have some videos of the animal on there if we have them, or that kind of thing too. So all that has to go in. But yeah, I mean, all the systems are different. There's actually a flush system in the dog kennel areas that whisk waste away. Our staff needs to be trained on these new systems. So we're going to probably take most of the summer, if not all of it, to do that. And then just the logistics of the physical move of, moving animals and equipment that, there's a lot of new equipment going in, but some will move with us. And how we're going to do that, it's likely we'll be operating out of both locations for at least a short period of time, and perhaps having to close for a few days too, just to do that. But we're still planning that and whatever. So we expect that we'll be open to the public probably in the early fall, early September, somewhere in that range.
That sounds fantastic. And you guys are I'm just, like I said, I'm so pumped about this. I don't live there, but you guys are doing so many amazing things. What are ways that people in your community or even outside your community can help RHS? Like you mentioned, volunteering. I know you guys have a campaign for your move. Like, what are things that people in your community to do can just support you?
Well, all of the things you mentioned for sure. I mean, obviously, monetary donations are critical. But it can also be, things like wet cat food, bleach. We use a lot of bleach for cleaning right now. Laundry. I mean, we do a lot of laundry. All the bedding for the animals gets washed, so liquid laundry detergent is something we're always in need of too. You mentioned the capital campaign. We're still about $2 million short on that campaign. It's about a $29 million facility. Most of which we have raised. The city of Regina also is paying a portion of it, because we do act as the impound facility, and that was part of that contract. But we still need to raise about $2 million to top that off. We have financing in place, so there's no danger that it's not going to get finished or anything like that. That is all taken care of. But we'd obviously rather raise the money through donation than have to fund it through borrowing and the added expense that brings. Volunteering, you mentioned, fostering. Critical, especially in the new building. I mean, we spent 2.5 years without volunteers because of COVID, and we got by, but it was basically floating the boat. We weren't able to grow much and do other than what we could. So in the new facility, volunteers will be much more important to help out in our retail area, as ambassadors, greeting people when they come in, that kind of thing. And as we talked about, the foster program, which is part of our volunteer program. So that we can, get those animals, out of the shelter and into quieter environments so that they can heal and then hopefully come back and be adopted. So those are very important things. But even something simple, like you mentioned, Foster, it's great if you can't take on the long-term 20-year thing we talked about earlier. If you can only, take an animal for a few days, whatever, we need all different ranges of that. But even something as simple as sharing our social media posts, when we're featuring a pet that's maybe been here a while or is having a tough time going home. And, I find when we ask people to do that, they really step up and rally around that animal and just keep sharing that post until that pet's gone home. So even things like that doesn't cost anything, just a couple of clicks with your mouse or your iPad or whatever it is you're doing. And just talk about the things that are needed here and that kind of thing, safety and that kind of thing.
So funny you mentioned the social media post, because I remember my wife and I still have the screenshot of when we adopted Buddy, and it was there was 700 likes after people had said he was adopted. And someone's like, "What? I didn't even know he was there. Like, why didn't I see this post?" Because we saw him on the website, and I darted over there and I was like, "I want that dog."
Well, you must have. I mean, they barely touch the floor when they go up for the little toy poodles, small breed dogs. We get them, but not everyday kind of things. So they do go very quickly. But yeah, people love the success stories. We ask people when they adopt, please, send us some pictures and stuff. And we do get that and a few comments about how that pet has impacted their life. And, we post those, not all of them, but most of them we do, and often we do. And they're some of the most liked and shared posts that we do, because people love that. It's the underdog, it's whatever, this pet was down and out, especially the
Literally
ones
the underdog.
yeah, quite literally. But especially the ones, even just, I was call them everyday pets, but we do get ones that maybe were abused or injured or something, and really beat the odds. And when those ones go, boy oh boy, it hits people. And we love sharing those stories because we see those stories. We see a lot of, as people that work here, a lot of tough days for sure. Not every story is happy, but thankfully most are. And for me personally, it's the animals that come in that were abused at the hand of a human. Those are the ones that bother me the most. And they're sometimes tough to see, but the days where you see an animal go home, every animal, but especially one that maybe had a little longer road and journey and whatnot, it makes it worthwhile for sure. And people out, on social media feel the same way. They hate the fact the story's there, but when the animal goes home and finds a happy life, there's nothing like it.
I've seen some from both the RHS and other shelters, both in Saskatchewan and now where I live in Edmonton, just post those stories. Sometimes they are, like you say, those kind of hard. They're gut-wrenching stories if it's something kind of tragic or sad, but it also, I think, offers the opportunity for a community and for you guys to kind of all come together and really kind of drive forward in that mission to make sure those animals are looked after. And
absolutely, we don't post a lot of detail or photos, but we also want people, to know that these things happen. And and it's not, yes, we're the place that the animal is, but to pay attention to what's going on out there. Use your voice. It can be something as easy as, one thing I see a lot is you're supposed to have your dog on a leash in Regina, and I see people in the parks letting their dog run around, and we say something, say, hey, can please put your dog on a leash, and it's for everybody's safety. Just was it I think it was last night, my wife and I were taking our dog for a walk, and I saw this dog running and it was dragging its leash, but I knew that the owner had let it go on purpose, and it was chasing some rabbits in the park. And about 2 minutes later, a little dog, smaller than your dog, Paul, came running around the corner off leash as well. And I said to my wife, I said, boy, timing's everything, because that dog that was chasing rabbits, do you think it cares if it chases a rabbit or a dog that's smaller than a rabbit? And there could have been a very bad day for that one family. And that's what I say. I say it's your dog's probably, most of the dogs I see off leash are fine. They're not causing a problem. But I've also had people say to me, well, my dog's off leash. I see other people with their dog off a leash. Why can't I? Even though they know it's against the city bylaw. But the problem is sooner or later, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, a dog will get let off a leash that has no business being off a leash. And that's when, something's going to happen. And we do see it where, animals do get attacked by their dogs, and it's not pretty. Most of the parks, I know the one by our house has a playground, and there's lots of little kids around, so it's just for everyone's safety, including your own. And, while your dog might be fine, the bylaw doesn't say, they got to be on a leash unless they're a good boy, this kind of thing. And it sets a good example, and you're, by demonstrating that, you're part of the solution and not the problem, because we do see animals that do get into fights and are attacked, and sometimes they don't survive, quite frankly. And it's not necessary. It's completely avoidable. Hang on to your dog when you go on for a walk. That way everyone's happy. Even reactive dogs. I have a dog that's very reactive to other dogs. She's pretty cool unless that dog's running around. Then she gets very reactive, and it ruins our experience of taking our dog for a walk too.
Yes.
Just because someone feels that they don't need to follow the bylaw. But I'm getting a little one around here. But those are things people can do. Follow the bylaws, keep people safe. Politely, if somebody sees something, say, hey, do you mind putting your dog on a leash for, because they know, and but little things like that. You don't want to get in a dispute or anything, but have that voice, set a good example with your pet, and that can help other families and just the overall animal welfare situation in the city as well.
It's so, yeah, it's kind of like, don't just be a pet owner, be a smart pet owner, right? Like, be someone who's kind of responsible. Yeah, think about other people,
exactly.
think about you, of course. Like, you're there to enjoy your pet, but you're there to also kind of treat your pet as somebody who is responsibly taking care of that pet in society.
Yeah, and I've had those conversations, and people get it. They go, "Oh yeah, okay, I can see that." I mean, there's one thing we don't have enough of, admittedly, is off leash parks. I know the city sets up some temporary ones, and that is a problem. Because people do want to exercise their pet in a more than just around the backyard, or I can't run nearly as fast as my dog, so and I get that. But at the same time, for me, it's a safety issue. For the other animals and the wildlife too. I mean, the wildlife, you're not supposed to be letting that happen either, especially intentionally. So, they should be able to enjoy their home and park. But I don't want to see any animals get hurt or little kids and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, too true. Well, just to kind of throw a quick bow on it, our podcast series is themed, it's called Make a Statement. And so professionally, obviously, our job as an agency is to help others kind of figure out what their message is, where to say it, how to say it, so everybody can kind of make sure their message is heard. If we're here today kind of saying, okay, what's the big kind of statement for the RHS? What's your statement kind of heading forward into the future? What is it that you guys really want to kind of be known for? At kind of a high level, and obviously as you move into your home, that's a new home, that's another chapter. But is there something you can kind of do to encapsulate that for us in a little bow, or if we need to help you with that?
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's just a one statement, but some of the things I've mentioned before is really what we're about is compassion, empathy, love and respect for all living things, animal, human, 2 legs, 4 legs. That's really what we're about. And creating and helping to create environments where both people and in our case companion animals can live and thrive together, and that's what every program we have is about. Every day, that's what we're trying to do. So I don't know if that's a real statement, but that's where we're headed, and that's why the new Animal Community Center isn't about a warehouse for animals. It's about families, it's about education, it's about welfare, it's about outreach, and tying all those things together in a way that animals do well and people do well together too. So I mean, that's where we're going. That's what the new building's all about.
You guys are so much under one roof, it blows my mind. I was so surprised to hear you kind of list off all the things you guys do. And like I said, I really only knew a third of it kind of before we started kind of digging into it. So just, so Regina's so lucky to have an organization like yours that's able to kind of look after animal welfare and kind of be there to really support it in a wholesome kind of, holistic way as a bit of a blanket with all the services you guys offer under one roof. So I just want to say on behalf of the team at Mass Strategy, we are very pleased to present the RHS with a $2,500 donation.
Well, thank you.
This is a fake check. We'll send real money in the mail for sure. But just we're thrilled to contribute to that mission that you guys are doing in the city of Regina, and looking forward to all that comes ahead in the future for you guys. And when I'm next in Regina, I'm looking forward to stepping through those doors of that new facility and seeing what it's all about.
Well, I hope you do, and thank you very much. We really truly appreciate that you would select the Humane Society to make your donation and support the work that we do every day. But like I say, we're 45 people or so. It really is dependent and on the community and the support that we get from organizations like yourselves and individuals in the market that allow us to do it. And it always frustrates me when I hear someone say they've only knew about a third of this stuff, because as the marketing and communications guy, I always feel like I got to work a little harder.
That wasn't a dig. That wasn't a dig. I promise.
No, I know. No, listen, I say the same thing, and everybody says about the same thing too. But yeah, no, it's great. And as we mentioned earlier, having the opportunity to talk about some of those other things that maybe aren't so well known or that people don't necessarily think of right away when they think Humane Society. It's really important to us and to get those stories told and that awareness out there too. So thank you for that.
No doubt. Robyn, any parting words? I'll give you the last word.
Last words. I just want to say, I didn't know much about the Regina Humane Society because I don't live there. And so it's fantastic to see a place that honestly, it's like Paul said, it blows my mind what you guys do already, not even what you're going to do once you get to the new location. So I think I have to do a road trip once you guys are open in the new spot. And maybe by then I'll be ready for dog number 2.
Well, sure. Well, let me know you're coming by and we'll give you the tour for sure.
Amazing.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Bill, and thanks everyone for listening. Remember to check out the RHS at is it reginahumane.ca?
ReginaHumaneSociety.ca.
ReginaHumaneSociety.ca. Check them out on social media, share their posts. Let's get some pets adopted. And if you're able to make a donation, volunteer, do what you can to help out the RHS. Thanks so much, Bill, for coming on the show, and see you all next time on the Make a Statement podcast.